Welcome to First Down Sports. As always, I'm your host, Ray Dunn. Sitting with me once again down at the end of the table in his Buffalo Bills colors is my brother, Chris.
How's it going, eh? First down.
First down. Also sitting here at the desk with me is our producer, Andy Jardine, wearing his Cleveland Brown colors.
Yo! Which is also, by the way, is also very similar to the First Down Sports colors.
They are very interesting. Very
I
interesting.
enjoyed that a lot when I noticed that. Yeah.
Sitting at the back of the table, and God knows what he's wearing, is my younger brother, Nicky Dunn.
Hey.
How's it going, Nick?
Pretty good. How about you guys?
Also sitting in the back of the room tonight, we have a special guest. Ray Dunn Sr. is back in the house. He's in the studio. His mic's been cut off this week. Apparently, our fans think they've heard too much of Ray Dunn Sr. this time.
Just shut up.
Yeah.
Yo. All right, got him out.
Now, before we get going here tonight, let's give our sponsors a quick shout out. So if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you get the drill. Friday night, make sure you get yourself some Moose Light. This stuff is scary good. Scary good.
So scary.
Scotty.
If you're a sports team, an organization, back to school team, anybody look for hats, shirts, pens, you name it, go see our buddies at Doyle's Corporate Image.
Those rule.
Doyle rules.
And lastly, if your kitchen sucks, and you know here in New Brunswick there's a good chance it probably does, you got to make sure you go see my little brother Nicky's company, Done Right Buffalo Sauce.
Done right.
Done right. Now, Nick, do you want to give a plug out for your new sauce?
I've got a bottle right here. Is this the first one?
That's the first one.
It's the first bottle of Buffalo Ghost. And when
Halloween.
it was awesome when I first saw this. I never even made the connection with the ghost peppers at all.
Yeah.
I just thought they were making fun of the Bills, man.
Yeah. Nice, Andy.
But it's really good.
Chug it.
Nice.
I tried it earlier. It's delicious.
Now, the one interesting thing here, Dad's been here now for, a week and a half, and I'm having a tough time calling it Done Right Buffalo Sauce because all I've heard is done chicken ring sauce, done wrong buffalo sauce, done right. I've heard so many different versions. I have to write it down now that it's done right buffalo sauce.
Well then.
Yeah. So don't forget, now for those of you listening to our podcast and you guys want to see us live or see a recording of us, all you have to do is go to our YouTube channel, search First Down Sports Podcast, and you can find all these podcasts now live on video, which Andy's been looking after and doing a great job.
Yeah, it's a little delayed. It's not live, but
Yeah.
I'll have it there soon.
You get where we're coming from. All right, let's get into some local sports, guys. We got a lot of topics here tonight. As usual, we're going to talk a little high school. We're going to talk a little AUS, okay? This week in AUS, we had a couple great games. Acadia, who lost their opening game of the season against Mount A. They bounced back the week prior or the week afterwards with a win against Bishops, and now they go rolling into St. FX, who just came off a big game against Mount A, beating them 37-0. And Acadia rolls into St. FX and walks away 38-24.
Nice.
Cody Cluett, the quarterback for Acadia, he's really starting to get on a roll. He threw for 201 yards with 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And the St. FX quarterback, remember I referred to this guy as a young Drew Bledsoe. He threw for 273 yards, no touchdowns, and 3 interceptions.
Oh.
So I think that those two stats really tell you what happened in that game.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
And another big win. St. Mary's wins 40-21 over Bishops in Bishops. St. Mary's is the first team to make the trip to Bishops.
Debacle.
And Caleb Scott, the quarterback for Bishops, throws for 391 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions.
Wow. Okay.
Right? The quarterback for Bishops, Matthew Demers, 217 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. So a lot of turnovers.
They were throwing
in
the
that
ball
football
in that game.
Yeah. So just to give you guys a quick up-to-date standings in the AUS, St. Mary's is in first place, 2-0, followed by Acadia, 2-1. Mount A's 1-1. St. FX 1-2. Bishops is 0-2 to start their first year in the AUS conference.
Yep.
And this Friday coming up, we have 2 Friday night games. Now, Friday night games used to be, the odd thing during an AUS season, and it seems to be happening more and more. There's 2 Friday night games this week. Acadia is down at St. Mary's. That's for first place. And Bishops is making their first appearance here in New Brunswick, playing against Mount A. It will be really interesting to see how Mount A bounces back from that loss they had in St. Vax after having a bye week.
Absolutely. Well, let's hope that they just play extremely well at home.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. So just want to touch real quick on the high school games as well. High school kicked off this weekend, and I have to tell you, the games that I saw, I was pretty impressed with some of the kids that I saw play. Matthew Martin lost to Fredericton 56-7. Moncton High rolled down to St. John High and beat them 23-12. Odyssey High School beat Harrison Tremble 14-3 in a game that I officiated. And then on Saturday, I was in the game. Bernice McNaughton took on Riverview High and lost 30-0. The only thing exciting about that game was not only was it pouring for most of the second half, but at some point in the third quarter, with about 6 minutes to go in the third quarter, there was a bolt of lightning. I mean, it was such a loud flash. Everybody folded tents up right away, and we shut it down.
Wow.
And then we have to wait for 30 minutes after the last bolt of lightning before we can start it up again. It took us 45 minutes before we could get that game going again. So what should take about 2.5 hours for a high school game, we were there for a big part of the afternoon.
I showed up late for that one. I see my poor dad in the stands waiting to see Ray officiate the game. Poor guy's in jeans, shirt drenched.
No hat.
No, I know he had a hat on. He was drenched.
Oh, yeah, because at halftime I brought him in and I gave him my hat that I had in the locker room.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
So we brought him a little rain suit. So we fixed him up after.
Yeah. One last topic I got to bring up here, boys, in local sports. I think this is bigger than all the other ones I brought up. But
we know what this is.
This is just a quick shout out. Jeremy Richard and Pierre-Luc Maillet. I love you guys. I had a great time playing against you guys this year. Last night we faced off against them in our men's night Division II championship. And Dunn and Rye, as much as our listeners, this panel, every member at Mountain Woods Golf Course is going to hate to hear this news. We are now the back-to-back Division II champions, so there's a good chance you'll be hearing about this frequently until next year.
Well done, Ray. Well done.
It was a good match. The boys were a little nervous. By hole number 6, we had the match sealed and complete. So we played very strong last night.
Nick, do we got time on that?
Yeah.
Well, we got to move on.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. We're heading into our NFL Week 1. We've got a bunch of games we're going to touch on. We can't get to all of them, but let's start off with our Bills versus the Jets. We'll talk about some Cleveland, then we've got some games that Andy has set aside. So let's start out with the Jets versus the Bills, 21-12. Sean McDermott gets his first win as an NFL head coach. Chris, give us your thoughts. What'd you think of this game for the Bills?
All run, a lot of D. McCoy, I think, was a beast. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. There was some missed throws by Taylor, but you know what? And overall, he played a pretty conservative game. Kept the ball, out of the other team's hands. I think he did all right. There's been some flack on him, but overall, I thought he played a pretty good game.
The first drive downfield, I think it was the first drive. It's obvious that this coach wants to run the rock. Yeah. They want to pound the rock. They were running the ball with Tolbert and McCoy. And when they got down into the red zone, Tyrod did not look sharp down that red zone the first half.
Yeah.
And that pass he made to Clay that was intercepted by Justin Burris, brought back to the 40. That was a bad throw. There was 3 defensive backs right on that.
It was a bad throw, but it still hit his hands.
It did hit his hands.
He still had
but
it.
It was high. It was a high pass.
Hey, what the coaches say, if it hits your hands, you got it. You should bring that in. Bad throw or not.
Jordan Matthews in his first game as a Bill went 2 catches for 61 yards. Clay 4 for 53 with a touchdown. So it's good that they actually could get Clay the ball. One of the biggest knocks on Taylor is he can't throw the ball over the middle of the field.
Yep.
I thought he did pretty good. Zay Jones had his first catch of 21 yards. Here's my biggest problem with the Buffalo Bills, okay? Marcel Darius. This guy's $100 million guy. He's got a huge contract. He is horrendous. I know he's got a bad hip right now. He gets no push. He got beat on the line all day on Sunday. He's an average at best when it comes to skills as a defensive tackle. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the GM was already kind of took a knock at him before the season started about who's buying in, and I think that's where the problem is. Is he buying into the system? I think he's going to be okay as the season goes on. If not, you see what the GM's done before. They're going to ship him out. I just hope they get some value for him.
The thing is I don't know if you caught this, but when I went back and watched the game, they were rotating in the defensive line almost every other play.
Yeah.
I have never seen so many rotations on the defensive line like I did in this game.
Yeah.
And this defense played great in the fact that they held the New York Jets running to under 30 yards. I think it was 38 yards actually. Total yards running by the Jets, 38 yards.
And Forte and Powell's not a joke.
No, that's not easy. Let's get into some Cleveland Brown talk.
Before we move on to that, though, Chris, the only comment I have is if Marcel Darius is a $100 million man and the best way you can describe him is the way Ray just did, you're not getting anything for that contract.
He's terrible.
You're going to have to cut him.
For sure. But I think there's
anything.
going to be some time before. I think he'll... you're right. Yeah. We'll move on. We'll see how it goes.
So Browns Steelers, there was no surprise in terms of the outcome, but how the game went was pretty interesting. The very first series of the game, Cleveland gets the ball. They go 3-and-out, including a false start from their Hall of Fame left tackle. They get the punt blocked, and the Steelers recovered in the end zone for a touchdown, and we're like, okay, here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah, the beer consumption went way up at that point. And then what happened after that, I was really pleased with. They held the so-called best offense in the NFL to only 14 points and under 300 total yards. That defense, they are swarming. They were intense. They were really fun to watch. They were all over them. And the young rookie, Deshaun Kaiser, looks like the real deal. He's big, he's strong, he's sturdy in the pocket, he's fast, he's got a rocket arm. He made some poor typical rookie decisions,
Sure,
which are totally fine because you see those and you think, all right, as long as he learns from it and he's not doing this, in week 10 or year 2, even worse, you'll handle that, right? You'll handle the odd thing when you got a guy like this who's a threat, mainly a threat with his arm that can push the ball down the field, which is what we've needed. So, yeah, they covered the spread, no problem at all. They only lost by 2 points. If it wasn't for that bonehead punt block, might have won the game. I was impressed.
Yeah, I 222 yards, a touchdown, and interception. I thought the kid played fabulous for his first NFL game. I think you guys got something to look at. I think things are looking up in Cleveland. Things are looking up.
Two quick things.
So.
I really like how Cleveland shut out Bell.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's amazing. I can't believe you shut down a monster like that. And like I said, Crowell, I wasn't really really big on him this year. And look at Kaiser almost had 3.4 average to his 1.9. Yeah, Crowell's a bust.
Yeah, the Steelers.
No.
I mean, the Steelers really said we have a rookie quarterback. We're gonna shut the run down and make this kid throw. But still though, Chris, once he showed them that he could throw and they backed off a little bit, we still got nothing going in the running game. So your poke there is well placed. So yeah.
Oh.
All right, you want to move on?
Yeah, let's move on. Let's get into the
So
games.
again, we can't get into all the games, guys. So what I did is I just picked some of the ones that I thought were the most interesting and the biggest shockers, I guess. And let's start with the biggest one possibly of all. Now, right from the start, I found myself defending the Chiefs, especially once you made your prediction. But right up until the start of that game, I was in several text conversations just saying, look, guys, the Chiefs didn't, at best, they're just as good as they were last year, but they might actually be, at worst, they were just as good as they may actually be better. The record might not show it because the record's really tough. Now, at no point am I going to say that I called the Patriots losing this game. I didn't.
Right.
But I've been trying to defend the Chiefs as a good team, and I just want to hear you guys' thoughts on this. What a shocker. Almost the entire pool picked this for 5 points in a straight pick 'em. A lot of people actually picked it for 5 points with New England covering like an almost 10-point spread, and look what happened. So what did you think, Ray?
Well, I mean, It's funny in the fact that in the first NFL game of the season, I think we'll have the biggest upset of the season in that game. I mean, that was the biggest upset you're going to see. Huge opening ceremony by the Patriots. They had Mark Wahlberg there, and I don't know what the heck they were doing with all those trophies, and it was the worst ceremony I've ever seen
For a Bills fan.
No, not
I
just
understand why it was so tough.
Even as a Patriots fan, that was horrendous. You have to admit that.
No, they loved it. Every single one of them loved it.
It's the worst loss in Belichick Brady history as far as their era goes. They're currently third place in the AFC East. I'll tell you what, I did not give Kansas City the respect they deserve.
No, you did not.
And like I said, my biggest problem with Kansas City has been the fact I didn't feel they had any wideouts that were worth mentioning, and I really thought that Alex Smith was done as an NFL quarterback. I wrote a Facebook apology this week.
Yeah.
I am sorry.
I thought he was hedging his bets.
I completely was way off on Alex Smith. This guy is still a killer.
Yep.
He knows how to get the job done.
Yeah. Chris, what did you think?
I think New England left a lot of points on the board. I think the Gronk drop of the touchdown set the pace. It's what New England does. Once they build a lead, the defense plays a little different. They play a little vanilla. They give up some, but they don't give up the big ones.
Yeah.
Once they started making the mistakes that they did, KC, they kept them in the game.
Yeah. Well, two things, though. Number one, this is what happens when your team clearly doesn't completely believe in you and trades way up in the draft to draft this young gunslinging quarterback who's known for pushing the ball down the field with a rocket arm.
Yeah.
What does Alex Smith do? He says, I can push the ball down the field, and did it against the Patriots.
368 yards, 4 touchdowns.
And number two, and I drafted him third round in our RBC fantasy pool. There were a few guys that told me good pick. There was a few guys at the table said, "Wow, you're reaching." Kareem Hunt is a star.
Yeah.
Now let's not be crazy here. We probably just saw his best fantasy performance he'll have in his entire career.
Sure.
But you cut that in half, and he's still an absolute superstar. So I don't think the Spencer Ware injury is going to hurt them quite as much.
Well, this kid's mentally tough too, because on his first carry in the NFL, fumbles the ball around the 30-yard line.
Huge.
And if I remember correctly, New England came out of that with no points.
Yeah.
Yeah, they on fourth down they went for it and didn't make the score. So that was unbelievable.
And that kid, they said it like 50 times. That kid had one fumble
in his whole college career.
career.
That's right. Fumbles on his first, comes back and follows up with 148 yards rushing and a touchdown. Caught 5 passes for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns, receiving 246 yards, all-purpose yards. Like you said, this kid had a hell of a football game.
It's actually New England was up by 7 at that time, and they had a short field, and that's where untypical of New England.
Yeah, to put their foot on the throat. And
Where Belichick, if he would have took the 3, I think that could have built momentum. It's not typical what you see out of New England. I thought it was a cocky swagger.
I think my favorite thing of that game, though, was in the post-game interviews. Belichick came out and took the mic, and he started off his press conference with these words: "We played terrible. We coached terrible. We got outplayed. These will be the answers to all your questions."
He's a classic. He's a classic. Yeah,
I loved it.
He's a classic. All right, let's move on to a game that's going to give Chris a little bit of told you so privilege here, and we'll let him have it. The Jags and Texans. Now, I think I called this as my lock. No, I called the Rams as my lock of the week, but this was close to it. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, they had a great defense, and yeah, they were planning to run the ball, which Chris, I'll let you, toot your own horn here in a second, but wow, they rushed the ball seemingly 50 times. They let Blake Bortles throw the ball for, I don't know, maybe 14, 15 times. They did exactly what Doug Marrone said they wanted to do, and this defense just lit up Houston. The turnovers were unreal. Wow, what a game. Chris, let me start with you. Did you watch this one at least? Since you were...
I did watch this one, and I was really surprised on how Jacksonville, they controlled the line. Like they bashed them. Even Ivory, if you look at the stats on it, like Ivory had like 42 yards still.
Oh yeah.
100 yards from Fournette. That kid's a beast. Like, you know what?
Yeah.
There was some people say, we'll see. He's a first time. He runs angry. I love him.
He didn't have a great yards per carry, but that just shows A, how good the defense was to keep the offense on the field, and then B, that Marone really was committing to that run.
Yeah.
Like he just kept going to it, right?
Well, he played to the strength, and if you look at Bortles, like I think he only had 21 attempts, 125 yards and a TD.
Yeah.
Sounds awful a lot like when he was with Buffalo. You know, limit the the weakness. The weakness
That's how
is the
you.
quarterback.
Yeah, that's a good running game and a good defense is how you cover up a bad quarterback.
Now, if there's one thing, Chris, you got a lot of props on this one for what you've been saying about Jacksonville, but I am also going to take props in this game.
Oh boy.
All right.
Because Savage starts out in this game, 62 yards. He was sacked 6 times. He was holding the ball like Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah.
And who came out in the second half was Deshaun Watson on his first NFL drive, rushes down the field, scores a touchdown, ended up with 102 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I think this kid is your new starter in week 1 or week 2, if you will,
Yep.
of the NFL season.
Well, I'll give you some credit on calling that, but I got a couple comments. Number one, so Watson actually came in, had fewer yards per attempt. He did, by no means did he look good, but you're right, he did drive down the field. He tweaked his ankle a little bit.
Yeah.
He apparently made it through practice today, and I think for sure he's going to be your starter, but Bill O'Brien is an idiot. Bill O'Brien is the worst coach in the NFL. How you can give the guy, Tom Savage, your guy, he was your guy, the hook at this point after all the nonsense they went through last year, and they committed all that money,
agree.
$70 million to Brock Osweiler. The hooks were all over the place. This guy is an absolute moron. Just looking at his face bothers me, and he's an idiot. He's an idiot. Let's hope he doesn't destroy Deshaun Watson's career like he destroys all quarterback careers.
If you're gonna do it in the beginning, just like in Seattle. Seattle said, okay, you know what? We have a winner with Wilson. Let's go with him.
Yeah, game 1, like they did in Cleveland.
No,
Like Kaiser.
Carroll did a great job of doing that.
Yeah.
And I think he's getting a lot of, like, if you listen to all the specialists, for all the NFL, like, oh, you got to put Watson in, like he's a star.
Yeah.
Why didn't you commit from him just from the very beginning?
Because he's an idiot.
Yeah. Just to wrap up this game, boys, the only thing I want to point out is Allen Robinson
Out.
gone for the year.
Yeah.
Knee injury.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's move on. Seahawks, Packers, guys. I'm just going to open this up with a question. And where were the points? I was thinking total combined points 70. Wow.
The first half, there wasn't a whole lot of there was very little offense.
Yeah.
But let's talk about both teams' defenses played great.
I love it.
Green Bay's got a defense now.
Yeah.
And we talked about that one of the when I made this pick for these guys to win the Super Bowl this year, I said one of the biggest challenges is will their defense play at an NFL caliber this year?
Yeah.
They held Russell Wilson, that offense, to very few yards altogether. Russell Wilson only threw for 158 yards. Doug Baldwin only received for 63 yards. They had no running game whatsoever. Yeah. And in the second half, Green Bay really picked it up. I mean, they were running a lot of short passes, quick passes, and then Montgomery started running the ball. Cobb had 85 yards, no touchdowns. Nelson, 79 yards and a touchdown, and Montgomery had 54 yards rushing. So I for their first game against a very tough defense in Seattle, I think Green Bay had this is a good victory for them.
I just hope their defense didn't look better than it really is based on how Seattle's offense wasn't ready to be on the field. It was really weird. What were your takeaways on the game, Chris?
Well, I really like how stout Green Bay's defense looked.
Okay.
I think there's a problem on the rushing end. They got Lacey that, you thought that they were going to commit with him. Prosy. I think even... Procise. Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Come on. I got to treat you guys
that's,
equally. Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
But Wilson...
Can we have a name game for Chris?
I think we should have
try
a name
one
game.
at some point. Yeah.
We both got the Don Jerry's in us.
Yeah.
But I think there's an identity crisis in the backfield with Seattle. I don't think there's a true leader back there.
Right.
And for Wilson, if you look at how when Seattle did well... back in the day, they had somebody leading in the backfield.
They could have used Marshawn Lynch, especially the Marshawn Lynch we saw.
Ooh, Marshawn
boy.
looks strong.
They
boy.
could have used him in
He's
that.
strong.
We'll move on from this game, but the narrative every year when these guys play early, which seems like it's every single year, is this game today, this win for Green Bay will have implications in playoff seeding at the end of the year.
Absolutely.
And I believe that for sure. It always
Absolutely.
seems to happen between these two. The last one I wanted to wrap up was the game last night, guys. The Vikings and the Saints.
Awesome game.
Wow, Minnesota looks good
man.
on both sides of the ball.
I loved it. I was watching this game in the clubhouse.
When I
after-
won the championship.
I was not going to bring that up, Chris. For God's sakes, I can only bring up back-to-back champions once every show.
All right.
Okay, I'm
Enough
not
time?
doing it a second
Nick,
time.
enough time? Okay, we got to go.
All right, move it. Very early into the game, I don't know if you boys saw this. Adrian Peterson blows up at Sean Payton. He had a total of 6 carries for 18 yards, and Adrian Peterson is not happy in New Orleans.
Of course not.
No.
Their number one rusher, who also had 18 yards. Well, I mean, he tied Adrian Peterson. He had 7 carries for 18 yards. Guy by the name of Alvin Kamara.
Yep.
All right.
There's their rookie.
And he had more carries than Peterson. And Ingram only had 6 carries, too.
They split it almost all even.
Everybody knows Sean Payton is a running back by committee coach. He doesn't lean to one guy. He never has. He never will.
And he also just doesn't lean on the run at all. Doesn't matter how many guys he has. He doesn't run the ball 30 times a game, right? It's very unlike him.
You have Drew Brees as your quarterback.
Yeah.
You're not going to be running the ball 60% of the plays. It's not going to happen.
Though, had they committed to it yesterday, maybe there was a chance because, as you know, the thing on Drew Brees is those home and away splits are bad, right? And he's terrible when he's playing outdoors, and Minnesota's not in a dome right now, so he still looked good, though. Drew Brees is still Drew Brees, but yeah, they couldn't get anything going. The defense is
Let's talk about the Vikings because their defense is fantastic.
Yeah.
Their defense is fantastic, and now they have an offensive line. Did you guys see the offensive line for Minnesota? They were opening holes for Dalvin Cook. This kid comes in, runs for 127 yards.
Yeah.
Bradford throws for 346 yards, 3 touchdowns. And look at the receivers. I mean, Adam Thielen? No, it's Thielen.
Thielen.
Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't read my own
No
writing.
CK in there at all.
Yeah. Adam Thielen,
Yeah.
9 catches for 157 yards. Stephon Diggs, 93 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Kyle Rudolph, our buddy Kyle that we've talked about a few times.
one of my top tight ends, yeah.
26 yards and a touchdown. This is a real team to watch in the next few weeks here.
And you got to give Sam Bradford credit. Like, those were not little league throws he was making. Like,
No.
he looked unbelievable out there.
Really does.
He knows the offense. His line held up for him, and he made great reads, great throws. They look dangerous in the NFC North. Like,
my 2 questions are this out of this game. Question number 1, will Adrian Peterson be on this team by week 3? And number 2, what's going to happen with Teddy Bridgewater?
go ahead, Chris.
I'd like to just I'm going to answer those questions. I just want to give a quick shot. I really liked how when they upgraded the right tackle and left tackle for Minnesota. What a great upgrade! That Reef, I mean, he was pushing people all over the place. And when Cook started off, it started off very slow. But when that offensive line got going, oh man! And once they started committing to trying to stop that run, that Diggs and Thielen, oh man, they're this is a real deal. So to go to your question, well, you know what? I lost track. What
Peterson.
I was
Peterson. Will he be on the team by week 3?
I think Peterson. I think he will. Like my knee jerk is he's gone, but I think after what Minnesota did to New Orleans, I think he's going to get a lot of flack. The New Orleans head coach, and I think he's going to try to commit more to AP and see what he can do. And then if he fails, he's gonna give him some rope to kind of fail on his own. And if he fails, I think he's not going to bitch about it. He'll be there for the year.
What do you think, Andy?
No, I think he'll still be on the team, but I don't think he's going to be happy. I think at some point he may actually be inactive for games. I think, and I I do blame him for how he's acting, but I don't blame him for being upset because, they lured him there, and everybody knows who Sean Payton is and how he plays the game, but they clearly sold him some crap. Yeah. Like we're going to commit to the run, Drew's getting older. I'm sure they didn't say any of this, but, clearly they're playing a style of football that he wasn't expecting, and he's mad about it. Yeah. But shut up. They're paying you, and you're still in the league, so, get it together. Yeah. But I think he'll still be around. I don't think he'll force his way off the team. As far as Teddy Bridgewater goes, this is interesting. This kid, even next year, that injury was so devastating. That even next year, I don't think he's completely physically ready to go. I don't think they're going to do anything with him because you can't trade him until he can get out there and you can show him playing football again.
Right.
Bradford's older now, but man, is he playing his best football now?
Oh yeah.
But he's older. What a great problem to have, really.
It really is.
But the number one thing is you need to get Bridgewater completely healthy, get him playing in preseason games and showing that he can play. Then you can make some decisions on him. But I think that's a ways off.
If you look at the New England situation, they have Garoppolo sitting in the back with Brady. Brady's 40 something. Like Bradford's only 29 years old. So I just let him sit there and kind of develop, see how his knee looks, and if he doesn't, maybe unload him for maybe a low pick. And
you might even get a high pick for him. Like look at Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Yeah. Keep him around and see what happens with him, and get him a chance because while he's on injured reserve and can't play, his contract doesn't count. Yeah. Like it's not running. So.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, before we move off the NFL, I just want to also, Andy, great. When you made this your lock last week, I was a little surprised, but the Rams 46-9 over the Colts. The Rams look fantastic.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that when I made the lock, by the way.
He was. You talked about he couldn't throw. You couldn't throw the ball down the field more than 4 yards or 4.2 yards. I think was the stat.
Yeah, he shocked me.
He was bombing the ball downfield to Robert Woods, Sammy Watkins, Taven Austin, and that Cooper Kupp.
Yep,
Cooper Kupp.
And here's the other interesting thing about that game. Robert Woods and Sammy Watkins have both changed their numbers. Woods is wearing number 17 now, and Watkins is number 12. So they both changed their numbers from when they played for the Bills.
Interesting.
Anyways. One other point about that game. 9 different receivers Goff hit. 9 different receivers. So he can spread the ball around too.
Yeah.
He looks great.
He looks, compared to last year, the bar is so low. He looks like a competent NFL quarterback, which is, a big step up from what he was last year. He actually looked really good. Gurley still didn't do anything. They didn't need him to. The defense is unreal.
He still looked good though, right? Yeah. I thought he looked great.
Ish. But they got to do a little bit more with him. And Aaron Donald didn't even play.
No.
And the defense did that, right? So
they look great. All right, so that's our NFL wrap-up, guys. We are going to get into some CFL now. But this week, to surprise all our listeners, we have a special guest calling in once again. This is a 3-time charm for Wray Perkin from Ottawa, from the Ottawa Red Blacks. So let's bring in Ray, and we are going to do some... we're going to get into some CFL and some AUS talk. Here we go. Okay, guys, so we have our CFL Insider. He's an expert in the CFL, and he must be an expert because, again, this guy's name is Ray with a W, Wray Perkin.
Right.
Welcome to the show again, Ray. This is your 3rd time.
Third time's a charm.
3rd time's a charm. 3rd time's a charm. So listen, we got lots of Ottawa Red Black questions for you, as well as a number of topics to talk about in the CFL. Let me throw you over to Andy. He's going to get us started with some questions about the latest game against the Hamilton Ticats.
Sure thing. Fire away.
Yeah, Ray. So I want to start with a quote from a Twitter conversation you and I had one evening while we were watching a rather painful game. And that was, the only thing I can't discuss is the dumpster fire that is the Hamilton Ticats. So I'm going to ask you to get into it just a little bit, just based on this last game. So I'm just going to open it up to you. Talk about the game. Talk about your quarterback situation a little bit. We were all pretty heartbroken when that happened. And again, I know you can only get so far into it. And I just want you to touch a little bit on the Ticats. Say whatever your stomach can handle about this new coaching staff, June Jones, and what's going on there, and if you think they have some more wins under their belt.
Sure. Well, the game on Saturday, we were at home against Hamilton, and despite that, for whatever reason, we just came out kind of flat as a pancake in the first half, and Hamilton got a pretty big lead on us, and we kind of flipped the tables a little bit in the second half. But unfortunately, I think it was late in the third quarter, and you alluded to our quarterback situation. So late in the third quarter, our starter Trevor Harris, who is currently leading the CFL in pretty much every passing category, went down with a shoulder injury. So Drew Tate, our backup, came in and finished off the game. He I think he had a touchdown pass in either his first or second full drive. And we pulled to within 4, but couldn't complete the comeback. But we're still in first place in the East right now. But it looks like we're going to be without Trevor for at least a couple weeks here moving forward. And it's the Drew Tate show in Ottawa now. So I'm interested to see how he does with this week of practice and going into Montreal on Sunday.
When I was watching the game, I mean, when Harris got taken down to the ground, he went down hard on his throwing shoulder. And before he went into the dressing room, he had a ball on the sideline, and he couldn't even lift the ball up to his shoulder length. So did he dislocate it? Is it like, do you guys have any idea, like, the severity as far as that throwing shoulder goes, or is it still kind of week to week?
Well, it's basically week to week. Our GM Marcel Desjardins said this morning in the media that Trevor will be going on the 6-game injured list. But I wouldn't be surprised if he was back in action before that 6 weeks is up.
Okay.
But pretty much it's Drew's team for now, for at least the next few weeks until Trevor's healthy and ready to go again.
Well, he looked pretty sharp. He threw for 114 yards and a touchdown, and that was basically in the fourth quarter. So
a quarter and a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not a bad option to go to.
Yeah, it looks like he brings a slightly different skill set than Trevor Harris that you guys can now plan for going into the next game, as opposed to him having to jump in and run your game plan for that one. So it should be so good. Go ahead.
And the thing that people forget about Drew, I mean, they know him from the days when he was a starter in Calgary as a very kind of fiery and emotional quarterback, kind of opposite of Trevor. Trevor, is a little more composed on the sidelines, on the field, but I've seen it in practice. Drew gets pretty fired up when things go well, and pretty fired up when things don't. But the thing that people forget about him is in college at Iowa, he won a bowl game. I can't remember the name of the bowl game, but he beat LSU. And LSU, as you guys are probably aware, they're usually a pretty big powerhouse.
Yeah.
But Drew was able to beat LSU on a last-minute Hail Mary to win a bowl game. And he was also the quarterback that took Calgary to the Grey Cup in 2012. So he's got lots of experience. He knows how to win. He knows how to win big games. And seeing how pretty much every game from here on out is a big game for us. I think there's a great degree of confidence both in our kind of offices and in our locker room with Drew, just because people, they do know his resume and they know who he is.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to watching. So, I won't make you go long here, but June Jones and those Ticats, that team that you watched out there, is it a different team? Can we expect a few wins? What's going on?
I think it's a different team, and I think there's a couple of factors to that. One of which, and you alluded to that, is June Jones and the coaching staff. I mean, with Kent Austin and Jeff Reinbold, that was talk about fiery and emotion. Those guys are always screaming at someone. Whether it was, their own players, the officials, players on the other team, coaches on the other team. With June Jones and there's a couple of other new coaches or coaches who have stepped up into larger roles. With the departure of Austin and Reinbold, I mean, it's a much more calm and composed sideline, I guess, at least from the coach's part. And the other factor that I think plays into it is benching Zach Collaros for Jeremiah Masoli. Masoli is a much more mobile quarterback. You can be a little more creative with him. He's able to improvise a little better on the move, and he does move better. I don't necessarily know as he throws a better ball, but when you kind of factor in all those other intangibles, it kind of balances out.
Nice. All right. Well, we'll let you off the hook on talking about them anymore. Do you have something, Ray? Or?
No, I think it's time. Let's tee up this Chris Dunn.
No, we got one more here.
Oh, one more. Okay, sorry.
So this
right.
Friday night, which I think you're officiating, we got Mount A back on. It's Bishops, right?
Yeah, they're playing Bishops in Bishops' first game in New Brunswick.
Yeah. So after going from that roller coaster of their first game and then that dumpster fire, I'll use your words, Ray, that we watched last time, what do you expect in this Friday?
Well, I think anytime you score 64 points in a season opener, you definitely feel very good about yourselves. And I think in the Mounties case, getting beaten the way they did at St. FX was a little humbling. So I'm expecting them to come out with a lot of the same sort of stuff that we saw in that opener against Acadia. I think they're going to be a little more creative on offense. I think they're going to use the passing game a little more, and I think that being on home turf again is always a good thing, especially for the Mounties, and with Bishop making that long road trip for the game. I think that also plays into Mount A's hands as well. But I'm excited to see how the team responds to the loss against St. FX. And I know that Bishop has been beaten badly in both games so far, but I feel like Coach Brady and Coach Richard and the rest of the staff will make sure that everyone goes into that game with a level head, because I don't know if they did. And that would have been the problem going into that game at St. FX.
Good point.
They all maybe thought too much of themselves, or thought, this is going to be easy. We scored 64 points last week. St. FX lost. We'll just take this win easily. And I think that they kind of were met with a bit of a rude awakening.
Okay.
Well, that's a good wrap, and we are definitely. We talked about the AUS in our earlier local sports segment, and it will be a really good game this week against Bishops.
27-15 I got.
27-15.
Mount A.
Good.
All right.
Nice.
Here we go. We're gonna tee this up now. We've got Chris Dunn, anti-CFL guy,
I wouldn't quite
versus
Okay, I'll play
Ray
with
long.
Perkins,
Not for long.
CFL guy.
Yeah.
Ray, why don't you take the lead here? Tell Chris why he should be watching more of the CFL.
Get out of my brain, Ray.
All right.
Get out of my brain.
All right, Chris. I'm assuming you like offense.
Yes, I
You
do.
like football. You like watching people score points.
I do.
So last season in the NFL, the average points per game total by both teams was 45.6.
45.6.
It's a lot of points, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of points. Now, what if I told you that last year in the CFL, the average points per game total was 53.1?
I would say that's a pass. So you got a pass over there, right? You just need a 50 to pass. So yeah, I'll take it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. Yes. Keep going, Ray. Keep going.
Keep going, Ray.
You probably like
Trying to throw 'em
exciting
off.
games too, close games. No one likes a blowout, right?
The Bills, I'll take a blowout every time. Sorry to.
And that's fair. I can totally get behind that.
Yeah.
So last year in the NFL, 35.9% of games were decided by a touchdown or less. 35.9%.
Okay.
Now, last year in the CFL, 41% were decided by a touchdown or less. And this year, 12 weeks in the CFL season, 51% of the games have been decided by a touchdown or less.
Jeez.
So that's a great stat.
So the CFL's
That's
got a
great
little more
stat.
offense, and they have closer games. Am I pulling you towards this
I'm liking
CFL game a little bit?
Making a lot of
I
sense.
do have 2 counterpoints, but I'll wait till you're done. I like your
my-
point so far. I
my-
like it. I like it a lot.
My final point is about the passing game.
Okay.
Now, the passing game, admittedly, I'll admit, is on the rise in the NFL. There's been a lot more 5,000-yard passers in recent years
Yeah.
than in the past. However, the single-season record for passing yards in a game in the NFL is 554. That doesn't even rank in the top 7 in CFL single-game passing yards.
Incredible.
The record is 713. Now, in a season, Peyton Manning has the record from a couple years ago with just around 5,500 yards.
Yeah.
And again, that doesn't put him in the top 7 in CFL all-time single-season passing yards.
Okay.
The record is held by Doug Flutie with 6,619. in 18 games.
That's a lot.
Good old Flutie.
So there's a lot more passing yards, a lot more points,
Okay.
and closer games.
I like it. I like all those
that's
stats.
my three main arguments.
All right, Chris. Now listen. Ray's he's come with a lot of stats.
That's right.
I'm going to give you a minute to rebut those.
I'm not going to rebut that. I got 2 counterpoints.
All right, 2 counterpoints. Let's hear
All
it.
right, so my 2 counterpoints
Right
of
on
this, it's always been my major issue with the CFL, is the field goal posts. Has there ever been any discussion of getting those field goal posts put out of harm's way? It just bugs me. It irks me. It does.
The fact that they're at the front of the end zone?
Yeah, it's in the play. It's in the gameplay. I don't like it.
Yeah, but your end zone is 20 yards deep versus the 10-yard end zone in the NFL.
When I talk to my NFL friends, then we talk about, we'd like to get on board with some CFL teams. That's the main topic that comes up of why are those goofy field goal posts.
That's the main thing.
That's one of the main things, the football play.
You can use it to your advantage.
If you listen, well, I don't like that. That's one thing we don't like. I do like when I watch some of the games, I was posting to you saying, hey, I like some of the games that are going on. I love the gameplay. But I just look at that every time we get down there. I see some of the guys do a route where they use somewhat of a pick. It drives me nuts.
Exactly.
What's
all
the
right.
what's the
I want to hear
second
number
thing?
2. If that's number
All right,
1, I want to hear number 2.
The second one is it's not really the CFL. There you go. Is because it's not a complete Canadian football league. We don't even have a team out east. Where's the team out east? If it's going to be a Canadian
team out east as much as you do,
that's my problem. So if you want us to, especially you've lived out here for longer than I have, but if you want some fan base out this way instead of throwing us some crumbs, I think they need to maybe Halifax. I'm more towards Moncton, obviously, because it'd be great for us.
Clearly, yeah.
But I think it's not really the CFL until you get something out east.
Well,
there you go.
I do agree with you on that one, Chris. I do agree with you.
Talk to your guys at Doyle's and Moose Light about getting.
There you go. There you go.
Hey, the Moncton Mooseheads. Can you imagine that?
The
Moncton
Moncton
Mooseheads.
That'd be
Nice
great.
Blue uniforms would be perfect.
All right. Well, listen, Ray. I'm going to give you 2 fingers up for the arguments there.
Fingers up. How about thumbs?
2 thumbs up.
That was
Two fingers
that was me.
up.
Two fingers up.
2 fingers up. 2 fingers up.
The Stone Cold
All right.
Austin double finger
All right.
up for you.
2 thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. I'm going to give you full points in that discussion. Now, before we get you out of here, you got a big game this week at Montreal, so that hopefully you guys can pull off that win and strengthen that lead in the Eastern Conference. But I want to tell you this. So in watching that game the other night, it was great to see that ceremony that you guys held for Hank Burris. He was an awesome football player. I got to meet him twice here in Moncton, once with the Stampeders and once with Hamilton. And I don't know if you guys saw this, Andy, Chris, if you guys saw this, but Ray, you wouldn't have seen this because you're on the field. But
I would have been inside at halftime.
Yeah, TSN was showing his halftime ceremony, and in the middle of his speech, they broke away to go to commercial.
Yeah, Jeannie was all upset.
I thought it was terrible.
Yeah.
So I want
That's
you to
too
do me a favor. Henry Burris needs to be heard. I want you to plug him to come on our podcast, and you can tell him.
Absolutely.
You can tell him that First Down Sports will not cut him off in the middle of the interview. All right?
Unless it's over 45 minutes.
Also, a quick insider.
I'll tell him I have the done guarantee.
Quick insider. Is Johnny Manziel going to be picked up on your Red Blacks since you're a quarterback short? Oh, this is a big one. Is he coming?
No.
What's that?
Is Johnny Manziel going to be your quarterback you picked up now that you're down a quarterback?
So they don't have the rights, Chris. He's
He's
Ty
still on
Cats.
Hamilton's neg list.
Yeah. All right, Ray. With that, we're going to end this interview.
Relax, guys.
All right.
Because there's a good chance I'm going to cut my brother off, and then he'll be mad at me like Henry Burris probably is with TSN.
Yeah.
Thanks again for coming on, Ray. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to talking to you again in the future.
My pleasure, guys. It's always fun.
Thanks, Ray.
See you, Ray.
Okay, guys, that was Wray Perkin. Hope you loved that interview. Great guy. I'm glad he came on the show. Thanks for arranging that, Andy.
Yep. And well done playing nice with him, Chris.
Yeah,
Goal
well
post.
done.
Goal post.
Goal post. That was
Goal post. Are you kidding me?
terrible. Terrible.
Kidding me with
Terrible.
goal post?
I hate
All
those
right,
goal posts.
listen. We do not have time to go through every game this week and make our picks. Plus, I think guys like Jason Kenny and Alex Mercier, they stole our content from our podcast last week and they used it for their picks this week. So we're going to limit the games that we give you guys this week. So I have 2 games. We're going to go locks and upsets. So Chris, down with you at the end of the table. I want to know your lock for week 2 of the NFL season.
My lock of the week is the LA Chargers versus Miami. Lock it up.
Wow.
So, they're going to beat Miami.
Yes,
Awesome.
the Chargers played well against a very stout defense with Denver. I thought it was going to be a lot tougher of how Rivers was going to adjust to that pressure coming in, but they played fairly well. They adjusted to it well. Came down to the end, and I don't think the Miami's defense is even close to Denver's.
Okay,
Yeah.
Andy, lock of the week.
My lock of the week is really just a lob softball here, but I'll make up for it in my upset of the week. But I'm going with Oakland over the Jets.
Nice. Well, that's a
let's-
lock.
That's a pretty
Wow.
That's
That's a pretty good lock.
if I'm wrong on this one, I'm not even coming to the next show.
All right. Nick, do you have a lock at the back of the room?
Jets
I got
fan.
Baltimore.
Okay, you
over
got
the Browns.
Baltimore over the Browns. Okay. Ouch. That kind of hurt it. Oh, boy. Andy is mad.
He's tried that hot sauce. He tried
Well,
that hot sauce.
I'm following Andy's lead, and my lock of the week is the LA Rams over Washington at home.
There you go.
Yeah,
Wow,
there we go.
That's a big one, actually.
Nice call. Yeah.
Taking the Rams. Taking the Rams.
Awesome.
Upsets of the week. Chris, who do you got as your upset?
Upset of the week is Buffalo over Carolina.
There we go. There's our first Buffalo pick. I think I like that one. I think I like it. Andy,
Yeah.
upset of the
Are
week.
you ready for this? Drew Brees at home, back in the dome. Adrian Peterson yells, gets what he wants.
Wow.
New Orleans upsets the Patriots. The Patriots go to 0-2.
I love
Upset of the week.
it. I love it. I can't wait for week 2. Nick, what do you got for an upset back
I'm
there?
going with Chris with Buffalo.
Oh, you can't take the same one.
I
Come on.
can take my own.
All right. We'll give it to him this week, but have your own upset of the week. Come on.
He stole mine.
All right. My upset of the week is I'm taking Minnesota on the road over Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
okay.
that's going to be a good game.
will be
I
good.
think Minnesota's going to win that one on the road.
As much as you'd love to see the Patriots 0-2, I would love to see the Pittsburgh lose a game here.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
That'd be nice.
I'm giving that one to Minnesota.
Awesome.
So that's our locks and our upsets of the week. Before we get out of here, guys, Chris, give me your final thoughts tonight.
Well, I wasn't really ready for the final thoughts, but I'll give you my final thoughts.
You're ready. Let's do it.
I really think it was exciting the first week of the NFL.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see this start off. Fantasy always helps out. So if you haven't joined, any of our pick'ems league, it really does help out a lot. To really embrace the league. Maybe that's one kind of tip that Ray could have said, is if there was some kind of fantasy thing with CFL, that could be something that could.
There is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Probably not. Well, that would have been a good point. I
So
didn't
it's
know.
back to the goalpost, man.
Let's go. But it was awesome just to see first week one. It was
Awesome.
Yeah.
Andy, final thoughts.
Listen, Alex Mercier and Jason Kenny. They clearly weren't as. Actually, I just want to run down really quickly here. A lot of us were thrown off and took New England winning for 5, which Jason Kenny did, but he called almost a flawless week after that.
I just going to ask you a quick question on that 5 points. Okay.
Yep.
Do you have the ability to email the league?
Yeah. Sure.
Can you send an email to the league explaining the points again?
Absolutely.
Because my phone's been vibrating like crazy just today,
Sure.
asking questions. How's it work? So if you can explain that to the league in an email, let's take it offline. Do it in an email.
Absolutely, we'll do that. Yeah, sure. So Jason Kenny blew his 5 points on New England and then called almost a flawless week and ended up with 18 points.
Yeah.
And Alex Mercier was smart enough to just switch it to New England for 1, which is what I did in my spread pool. But I took New England for 5 on this one. And then also ended with 18. And on top of that, they both chose 32 points for the Monday night football game. So we have a complete tie.
A complete tie.
I don't have another tiebreaker. So Ray, Do you have your as a referee? Do you have your special coin to flip here?
I do have my special MBFOA. This is our old coin. This is heads, and this is tails.
All right.
So, Chris, on behalf of Jason Kenny, I'd like you to pick heads or tails.
Put it up.
Okay, here we go.
Heads.
Heads is the call. It's a head.
All right.
Jason Kenny.
Jason Kenny is the
You're
winner.
welcome.
You're our winner of week 1. And we'll be in contact with you shortly with your first prize of First Down Sports Podcast.
And those were my final thoughts.
Awesome. Well, listen, before we get into my final thoughts, let's again thank our sponsors. If it's a Wednesday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, make sure you get yourself a Moose Light. This stuff is scary good. It's great. And if you're a sports team, organization, a school team, you
Tire
name it,
manufacturer.
there you go. And you need hats, shirts, whatever the case may be. Go see our buddies the Doyle's Corporate Image.
Or tires. They might have tires.
Yeah,
Doyle's
tire-
rule.
And lastly, if your kitchen sucks, you need to heat it up. Let's say heat it up. Go out and get yourself some done right buffalo sauce. What's that called again?
Buffalo Bills lose next week. I mean, Buffalo Ghost.
Buffalo Ghost. There you go
pepper.
for
Yeah.
ghost peppers. Very good.
It's very good.
Go get yourself some done right. It's fantastic. Now, my final thoughts. I agree with Chris. It was a great weekend to be watching football again. There's nothing like fantasy football, and my 2 fantasy football teams won. In our pick'em pool, which, you know what do we got? 31 guys signed up?
Yep.
Let's try to get that up to 50 for week 2. So tell your friends about it. Get them connected. You're not that far behind. I happen to come in 3rd place. I think I'm the first place out of the panel. And last but not least, heading into week 3, don't forget, Marty Ryan are the new back-to-back champions at Mountain Woods Division 2.
This is like 3 times. Let's go.
Have a great week, guys. Enjoy week 2.
Bishops, you're going down 0-3.
Missed.
Man. Test, so just speaking to all the mics.
Test 1, test 2, test.
Talk loud just so we can hear you.
Check 1, 2. Welcome to First Down Sports. Check 2. This is Nick.
Check Andy's mic. Mic 2. Check.
Check 1, 2.
I'm checking Andy
now.
out.
Check.
I'm checking Andy
check 1,
out.
2.
I'm checking Andy out.
Chris is checking Andy.
Checking him out.
Check 'em.